This isn't a device for understanding Keith Tyson. It's a device for understanding whoever you are coming into the room. The people come in, they take their own path through it, like a fundamental particle. They attract to it their own memories and their own associations from my subjectivity, and they come out thinking about themselves and the relationship and diversity of the world. That's it. It's not there for any other reason.
The universe is about relationships between things. When something's created, a space is left. And I really wanted to make a piece about that. Even though it's full of extraordinary objects, one has to understand that I was actually trying to create the space between them all.
In this case, we have the sun. This is the recognised symbol for the sun. Down here we have Mercury, and then Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, etc. And when we get through the planets, we get to these chocolate bars at the top, which are all named after stars, and then up to black, and then this kind of folded or space-time twisted force at the top. So we get this journey going through into further and further reaches of distance.
The reason for me really focusing on the idea of connectivity is that I see each one of these blocks as a pixel in an image. And so it has a certain resolution. And this resolution allows me to talk about things that you can't talk about in a single object. None of it could exist without the rest of it. That's the point. That's the, that there's anything radical about the piece. It's that it says, no, none of this. You can't look at me in isolation.
If you look at like the magazine racks, and you look at the magazines, all those magazines actually are pictures not from magazines but of the blocks. So the back of the playing cards is this motif in this block. So everything it's of such a level of detail if you go into it. But it's up to the viewer if they want to go in surface and say, I like that one and I don't. That's right, but if you go really, really deep into it, it'll reward you for that.
If you play a game of chess, often the bad players will look at one piece and say, okay, that's in check, or this might be taken. But a good player will see the whole board, the space, the lines, the dynamic, how each piece is affecting every other piece. And that's kind of what this is like.
Rather than go through all the little intricate details of what everything is, which isn't the point, if I just talk generally about those things, then you'll get an idea.
There's things that are autobiographically significant, about my childhood, which are emotionally moving. There are some things which are sort of cerebrally interesting for me. But in terms of it, none of it could exist without the rest of it.
Why does something come into being? That's the first thing that comes up again. And it sort of is me, but not me. And those two things are in everything. Because that's kind of how I see the world, really.
And so you can look at one of these blocks and say, okay, why is it here? It's here because it's next to this block and it's next to this book. So you ask the next question, why are those there? And then you have to ask questions about why is the piece here? And why do human beings obsess about art? And why is art here? And why are we here? And so those questions roll on and on and on and on until you get to the question that everybody ends up, which is, why is there something rather than nothing? It's something that I find endlessly fascinating and mystical.
And that's the kind of experience I wanted when you came in, just this overwhelming sense of diversity, like a child might have when it's born and it's trying to work out what everything is. I want to return to something like that, but so that you experience these relationships as relationships. There's a conceit here that it ends at the walls, and yet electricity is coming into the room from a power station and information from the NASDAQ and the sun. So it's implying that this is more of a focal point in reality rather than a model of it.
If someone spends enough time in here, if someone's open, that it will occur to them that the most sort of shocking part of the piece is themselves, and that this thing is pointing at them from every possible direction.
If you chop up reality and shuffle it and put it back, you would have a similar experience.
By being here in New York, which is a grid system in and of itself, with massive diversity, cultural diversity, sort of eclectic diversity, diversity of lifestyle, sexuality, everything. It seems the perfect place to have it. Because I like the idea that the piece expands out into the street through the electricity that's coming into the room. And so, it's ideal for me that way. It's very reflective of the city that way.